Hello everyone and welcome to another technical analysis webinar with Trevor Neil. Thank you all for joining us. As always, we'll aim to get through everything in approximately 30 minutes. If you have any questions for Trevor, you can ask them in the questions tab of your GoToWebinar control panel and I'll pass those on to him. We remind you that this webinar will be posted to our YouTube channel in a few hours or so time. So if you'd like to watch it again, you can do so there, and we'd also love it if you subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notified of future publications. The webinar handouts can be downloaded from the handouts tab of the GoToWebinar control panel. If you're having any problems locating or downloading them, please just let me know in the questions tab and I'll send you a link. The first is a guide to the different technical terms and indicators that Trevor uses during the webinar, and the second is a CFD guide which details all the different products we offer at FX Choice. If you're watching this on YouTube, these handouts will be available in the description box. Please click show more and you'll be able to see them. At the end of today's webinar, there'll be a short survey where you'll get the chance to tell us how we're doing, how we can improve the webinar. Please take a couple of minutes to fill that in and let us know. For those of you who don't know, Trevor has over 40 years experience as a technical analyst and trader and was global head of technical analysis at Bloomberg. Okay, Trevor, so without further ado, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dan. And yes, just to repeat one of the things that Dan just said there, please, any questions you have, any requests at all, please send him a message in the chat box. Right, starting with the relative rotation graph here on the currencies, you can see that we have got the dollar in the middle. The direction of the G10 currencies are generally southwesterly. So west means that they're weakening against the dollar, and south means with low momentum. So dollar dominance. Despite, I would say, a sort of a hesitant point, but the trend is very clearly there, that the dollar is the thing to be in. The only thing which is against that general trend is the Norwegian crown, which is up here on the right hand side. That means the strongest of the currencies versus the dollar, and also turning up here to a northeasterly direction, the very opposite of everything else. That means with strong outperformance with momentum of outperformance, so a very strong message. However, as I'll show you in a moment, when I look at the absolute chart of Norwegian crown, I'm not so sure it is quite so attractive. But what is attractive is the US dollar. What is unattractive is, the most unattractive is the Swiss franc, and heading in the wrong direction is the Australian dollar, the euro, the pound, all of them really heading in this southwesterly direction. So there's a very clear message from the RRG at the moment. So let's start with the euro firstly. And I'll just move to the weekly chart of the euro firstly. And we've got this big consolidation we had here from 2020. We're in it. It may be supporting us. I had drawn this line in many months ago, and a month ago we broke down, and I was talking about head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breaking of the neckline as it seemed at this point here, talking about things like 105 for the minimum price objective, measuring from the head to the neckline and swing it down. Well, I had 2 weeks later, the market had reversed sharply, and we had plowed right back up to 119 here. But since then, and over the last 4 weeks now, we're easing back and now threatening these very important levels here. So while I'm on the weekly chart, let's just see them and how important they are. The low of 116.62 and the crucial low of 116.02. If they give way, I think it is the head and shoulders and all the terrible implications that will have. Looking now at the daily chart, so we've got resistance, which we were looking at just a moment ago on the weekly chart, at this high here, at the two highs here at 119.08 and here as well. And we're churning here, support, which I think is very light and very close at 116.64. The indicators here are quite negative in shape, and so I think there's a big threat here of a fall in the euro, and actually a fall in the other currencies as well. And it's really not a fall in the currencies, it's a rise in the dollar itself. So I think there is a big theme developing, a resumption of this rise in the dollar. Moving now to pound. Again, let me just look at the weekly chart here. So we've got these lower highs in place here, potentially a double top in here that I talked about before, and we did momentarily look as though we've broken down, but then we've come down and formed this descending triangle in the weekly chart. The MACD has remained bearish throughout. We've got very important support levels. I'll talk about those when I talk to the daily one. But just remember here, we've got this 133 area of support right down here. But it's a long way down, isn't it? So here are those three areas of support which are under threat at the moment. The lowest at 135.70, then at 136, and then this one just slightly above 136. But all of them looking, like they are quite vulnerable. And with the longer term, the MACD being down in the MACD, this rally does look like it's just a rally within the context of a down move. So I think the pound could be another one of those leaders in the fall against the US dollar. Next one I'd like to look at is the Canadian dollar. Here we've got on the weekly chart, we've got the rising pattern. That's the rising US dollar pattern, so rising with these higher lows in place in the weekly. The MACD is positive. Let's just put that arrow over there, is positive and is pushing up. We've got the higher lows pattern. That's higher lows in the dollar itself. As far as resistance is concerned, 129, 129.50 area is resistance above us, and if we look as though we're headed towards it, we've got a very big resistance level of 130 here. But it looks as like those levels, those long-term levels, are going to be challenged. So here's the last week's resistance at 128.95. This spike resistance, so it won't present much of resistance. I think this is a more serious one here. Support is at these series that we were looking at: 125.46, 124.18, and then three lows in here at the 123 level. But the dollar is looking strong and the Canadian dollar is looking weak, and this could be one of the ones which is one of the best bets to short against the US dollar. But as far as I'm concerned, I'll show you particularly why we don't exclude the Norwegian crown in a moment. Before I do that, I want to go to the other end. You remember on the left-hand side of the weakest, look at the story of the Swiss franc, how it was the strongest a few months ago, came round. We saw it in the RRG deteriorate, and then now it's the very weakest of the G10 currencies. So here's the weekly chart of it. This is so rising price here is rising dollar, weakening Canadian dollar. Swiss franc. The Swiss franc burst up through resistance at 0.92, just above 925, came back to it, and now is bouncing from it. I think it's going to continue this pattern of rising lows in the dollar here. This level has been cleared. Now the next resistance is at 0.9472, and then there's big resistance up over here. But it's really looking like we're trending higher in the dollar and lower in the Swiss franc. So here it is, higher lows on the daily chart. The technical's looking pretty good here. The resistance, the immediate resistance that we've got at 0.9326 and 9332 is pretty light resistance, and I think this higher lows pattern is going to drive us up. So those are the ones I like most to short against the US dollar. Now, when we looked at the RRG, we noticed that the Norwegian crown was over on the right-hand side, and maybe an alternative. So you might do the Norwegian crown versus the Swiss franc, selling the Swiss franc. But I'm not so sure I really want to do that. I think it is the dollar you want to do. The reason is this. Here we're falling in the dollar And this is strength in the Norwegian crown, but there is enormous cigar here of support that we're coming down into, which means that I think that this fall in the dollar and rise in the Norwegian crown is going to be stifled quite close to soon. So although that Norwegian crown sits so far on the right on the RRG chart, I expect that to turn around quite soon and come around and join the others on the left-hand side of the US dollar. So US dollar is king, I think, and it's just a question of where you place your bets on the other side. Nothing's for sure, of course, and it is not shooting away as yet, but it's on the cusp of a place from which it could shoot away. Think of that head and shoulders on the euro and the double top on the pound. Moving now on to the cryptocurrencies, and here again I'd like to look at the RRG, and here's the dollar here. Everything is west of the dollar and heading south as well, southwest direction. So underperforming the dollar, well, not surprising there, but also losing momentum as of overperformance as well. So looking weak and looking like being weaker versus the dollar. Now moving back to the charts themselves, well, they're all a bit of, they are just weak charts. Bitcoin here, the MACD on the weekly here has just turned negative again, down in here. It looks as though we're turning down when we came to this resistance, quite considerable resistance there that we talked about to stifle the advance on it, and came down, collapsed and then rallied, collapsed to 40,000. And then rallied. Let's have a look at that on the daily chart. So here it is, that collapsed to 40,000, then rallied. But I don't think, I think that's a pointer of where it wants to go. I think we're in a downtrend. We saw the weekly MACD was negative. Impulse, reaction, impulse. I think this is a reaction, and we can be pretty soon ready for another impulse on the downside. Support, of course, important support, 40,000 itself. This level here at 37.23, and really support doesn't come in properly until just above 30,000 there. Resistance is this high, this last high here at 4880, and then the all-time high at 5294 there. But I think we're in a new trend, and the trend is down, and this is just a reaction in it. Likewise, same in Ethereum. The weekly chart has turned, the MACD is crossing down, so looks as though we're resuming here. We have a very narrow top in this one, not a broad top like the Bitcoin did. So impulse, reaction, impulse, reaction, looking not very strong, this reaction, ready to turn down again. Support level 2,700, resistance at 3,636. Come along now, my friend. 3,680, and then these highs up here at 3,994. Those are the resistance level support, but look here how vulnerable this is. I think if we turn down here, this one could probably take the lead for the fall down. Litecoin, here again, it's the MACD on the weekly has just turned down again here. This one is low overall. It's got different sort of intermediate sort of top compared to the other two, but again, impulse, reaction, impulse. Is this just a pause, not even a rally, but a pause here? Key levels are the break of 142 here, and then that would make it vulnerable to a pullback right back to 105 down here. Resistance, this high, and also this 165 high here. But it does look as though it's ready to make another leg lower. Moving now on to gold. Any questions at all so far, Dan?
None so far, Trevor, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm here for questions if you want. Otherwise, we're going to finish on time. And we like to overrun normally. Okay, on the weekly chart of gold, it's negative. We've got I put that in as a dashed line, but you know, we've got a series of lower highs in here. We've got two highs just below 1840 here, three highs really at 1840, very significant level there. And we've got that spike low, which was a test of these lows in here and a test of the support in here. So that plunge stopped at a very significant level, but whether it means it's ultimately going to be the low, I'm not so sure about that. So there's that plunge. Short-term support at 1740 and the spike low at 1684. The daily is bearish. All the indicators are really bearish in this here. I note the ADX is at 19. That's telling us we're flat in behavior. So I think the message here that it's flat to weak, and there's much resistance above all the way up to 1840. There's a strong resistance all above it. It's going to struggle to go up. Silver. On the weekly here, we've got these two tops in here. We've had this whole massive topping up operation here, and we're threatening to put all that above us, that huge area from the end of this, from a year ago, all the trading being above us and resistance, a concrete ceiling for us now. So support, resistance building up at 23. We're grabbing at support levels from here back in December last year. At 2187, so 22-ish, and then this support here at 2164. But if these break, which they look like they're threatening to do with this MACD and the technicals, then we've got a real chance of a big plunge of, you know, maybe $4 or $5 down. So looking at the hourly, doesn't this look awful high, lower high, lower high, lower high? We've broken down to a low. We paused for a bit. I think we're on the cusp of turning lower. I think this is a flag here. This is the flag pole, and this is the flag. If that is the case, then the minimum price objective from the flag is 21.37. So as soon as we start to weaken again, break through 22, if we do here, then I think we're going down to fulfill that flag. Now, the big excitement, and we did warn you and try and get you excited about this over the last few weeks, is the crude oil. I'm going to look at the Brent crude oil here. We soared last week, but the big news is the break of so many important long-term resistance levels. So we had this short-term downtrend line, which we broke here, retested it from the other side, forming support, broke this high here from earlier this month at 76.13. We broke this high here from July at 77.84. But let's look at the weekly chart here, and I'm going to bring in a lot more data here to show you the significance of this move. Look at this, how far back we have to go to do this. Yeah. So this line here should extend. I'm sorry, it didn't extend. Let's just do it. There. Okay, that was a major trend line there. High, 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 high. Really did line up, break, retest, bounce from it, and you know, that is really very bullish pattern. I know we've been going up for a long time, but the bullishness is increasing and getting more exciting, because if we take out this high from 2018 high at 85, 40, not 85, 45, it's at 86.74 is the high. I don't know why I read that there. 86.75 is the high. To break, if we break that, then we've got a clear run to this big consolidation here from 2011 to 2014. You know, 4 and a bit years we traded in quite a narrow range, of course, forming a massive resistance level. But that now looks like it's on the target, you know, that we're on target for it. And the move down here was so fast that the move up here can be very fast as well. So I think you know, it's made the break. The break's exciting. It's doing it the right way. This level is the last resistance for it, and if we break that, I think we'll, you know, go $10 really fast up if we break that level there. So watch out. You know, you've been warned. The excitement is in this sector here. This is where the you know, I would focus if you in this sector. Stock markets, you know, not so easy to read now. Let's start with the down here. Go to the US 500, and here's a weekly chart of that. And we've had this sell-off, really sharp sell-off, down to 4,300 here, and then bounce from it. So quite a, you know, an impressive fall and rise. But the question is this rise mean it's over? Is it just another one of these and we'll be at new highs very soon? We don't really get much of a message from the RSI, which is reading 50 in the middle. The MACD is actually negative. It is actually negative. On the daily chart, here's that plunge for just above 4,300 there. We've got some resistance. It's not particularly heavy from above us here. The ADX, and don't forget the MACD weekly is negative as 20, so a downtrend developing is what is the message of that. The RSI is marginally bullish. The MACD is marginally bearish, and we've got light resistance above. We've got support, of course, at this spike low at 4,300. Very important, you know, really breaking 4,233 would be very destructive for the psychology of it. I think that we've got this toppling pattern here, which could last, give us a weak period for the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, into the middle or latter part of October. The last week of October is seasonally a very strong time, and the last quarter is seasonally the strongest quarter of the year. And so be aware of that. Whatever's happening now is likely to be quite temporary, but it could develop into something bigger than it is now. Certainly in the other measurements, the breadth measurements are pretty, you know, I see bullish interpretations and bearish interpretations of it. But I've got a list here now of if we do get a big sell-off, here's the fundamentals that caused it, okay? It hasn't happened yet, but here they are, and they still exist. Evergrande, you know, the Chinese property company, which is massive, teetering on collapse. Tapering by the Fed, corporate tax hike prospects are very likely. The debt ceiling, the Delta variant still not going away, and the prospect of stagflation. So whenever the market's going up, you don't hear that. You hear about profitability and you know, the wonderful tech world that we live in, and high rates of employment. But that's the list of fundamentals which will be mentioned if we have the sell-off. They're here now. But they're just not being talked about because we're not going down. It's the price which determines the fundamentals that you hear. Moving to the Tech 100, we gap down here and we filled the gap here now. That would be a natural place, funny enough, for it to stop if it wanted to stop here, if this was a topping formation. 14,800 and just above 14,800 is support. Just below it, support here at 14,773, and then some key support here at 14,445. Still rising lows just about in here, but everything is much weaker. The weekly MACD has just crossed this week to negative. The daily is negative as well. The RSI is at 50, it's a neutral message, and the ADX is at 20, meaning we're moving sideways. We're no longer in a trend. You know, the trend has been always up for years and years. So we definitely got some wobble underway here, and this could be that we top out here, having filled the gap, and start to turn down and test lower again. Moving to the UK 100, this is the one that I've disliked the most for all the time that I've been talking to you guys, and that's because, and let me just show you here on the weekly chart why that is. It's because of this over on the left-hand side here is so massive. Look at this. When everything else was in blue sky and pushing ahead strongly, we were pushing up towards this massive area of resistance, and it stalled here as you would expect. There are loads of people who bought shares in 2017 to 2018, have been suffering substantial losses and are seeing the market come back to the level at which they bought those shares. And there were a lot because we spent a long time in here, and they're thinking that they're blessed in some way because the market is going to let them out of jail free and they can sell them out where they bought them, which they never thought they'd be able to see when they were suffering through that period there. There's an enormous weight of resistance here. We can see that it's not going down because the rest of the stock markets are not going down, but it didn't go up in this period here because the other when the other stock markets did. The MACD is negative here, so we're looking from a negative point of view. We've got lower highs in place here, looking quite toppy, I would say, at this very moment here. And could be impulse reaction, impulse just about to start to put in a third lower high there. The 7,011 wasn't the big level many people thought it would be. We came back to the low, the July low of 6,813, and that was that spike low here. So that was sort of, from a technical analysis point, rather nice point of view. So I'm worried about the market turning down again here, and this might be the leader of the fall if we get the fall. US may weaken or pause, but I think this is a candidate for a fall. Now the Germany 40 now, the DE40 index, expanded the index, gapped down when it expanded the index, found support again with its July low as well at 15,100, and bounced quite well from it. A lot of resistance up in here. It's going to find it hard to make further progress here. So I think it's a struggler also. The weekly chart, just to remind you, the MACD has been bearish since a couple of months now, and we're still bearish. Has bounced well, bounced into resistance. It's going to be hard to make progress. I think the chances of this topping out are quite good too, although it shows less sign of it than some of the other indices. Finally, my favorite is the Japan Japan index. It had a sell-off, but it looks as though that's over now and it's on its way up again. We've got minor resistance at this high here at 30,000 and 795, 30,800. But I keep showing you the weekly chart here. If we've got a flag here, and if we've broken out the flag, as I think we have, flag pole from here to here, and we measure upwards there, that takes us to 34,700 here, breaking out of the flag. But there could be much more at play here, because if I go back here, we will be bringing in, look here, these highs here. So, I think this is a pause on the journey up towards the all-time high back in 1990. And so I think there's lots to go for on this one here. I think this is, I've been very bullish of this one. It's one that a lot of people don't take much notice of. They still got the mindset that Japan is in stagnation and things like that. It's not at all the case. This has been a great bull market, which does look as though it's got a long way to go yet, without being into blue sky, to meet its old highs of 1990. All right, Dan, any questions from anybody?
Yes, we do, Trevor. In fact, we've actually got quite a few. So I've bombarded in the last 5 minutes, and I didn't want to break your rhythm. Okay, this first question is from Yahe Ahmed. Thank you very much for your question. He said, actually, what I wonder is Euro USD, you figured out head and shoulders from the weekly chart, but me, I saw weeks back a fallen channel, and I was trading with that. My question is, did you see that or don't you trade that way?
No, you know, that's not a contradiction, of course. You know, these patterns are fractal. You know, this is if this were a head and shoulders, it's also a head and shoulders in the daily chart. If you make it big enough, it doesn't. The physical shape doesn't change the same. The distance from that high to that high doesn't change. And now, could you say to me again, Dan, the channel that he was?
Yeah. So we're talking about Euro USD. We're talking about Euro
Yes.
USD. You figured out a head and shoulders from a weekly chart, but me,
Yeah.
I saw weeks back a fallen channel, and I was trading with that. My question is,
Okay.
did you see that, or don't you trade that way?
No, I do trade that way. I wonder which channel you were talking about. There are a couple, because, you know, up, down, up, you know, down, up. There's a number of channels here. As I say, all the technical analysis is fractal in behavior. If it's the latest one that you were talking about, this would be maybe this one here.
Possibly, yeah.
There. It's quite well defined one there, but you could be talking about the up channel, could be talking about the down channel, and other channels. But you know what that channel, this channel, is a shorter term perspective than the head and shoulders, isn't it? So we could break out this channel, and that doesn't mean the head and shoulders is negated. You know, so it's a pattern inside a pattern, and all patterns are made up of patterns. There, this word fractal is the magnification of shape. Repeating the shape, Mendelbrot, sorry, shape like a snowflake. You magnify a snowflake 10 times, magnify it 10,000 times, you've got the same shape. It's a pattern made up of a pattern. So there's no contradiction. It's not that you shouldn't be doing head and shoulders, you should be doing channels, or vice versa. They're just parts of each other.
Gotcha. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Yahe.
Yes, and let me know if it doesn't. Yeah.
Ready for the next one, Trevor?
Yes, please.
Okay, it says, hi Dan, don't know if Trevor could take a look at a stock on LSE ticker, TEP. We don't actually offer that one at FX Choice, but we've had a request to take a look at it. So
okay, let's have a look at it. Let's put it in the right bit, so maybe we'll be looking at it each week. Insert row, TEB.
TEP, sorry, that's I forget the NATO alphabet.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's the one that he's talking about. And here it is. Telecom Plus. Wow.
Whoa.
Great one.
Whoa.
Okay, now there we are. So there was some news in Telecom Plus, so there, but let's just look at the charts. So we've still got high, lower high, lower high, lower high pattern complete in place, low and lower low, and then we got bullish divergence in that low there, and on the weekly we crossed to positive before the big jump there, which was interesting that should happen, that we completely lost momentum at that low point there. So we got this massive, really massive support at the big round number of 1,000, sideways movement between 1,000 and 1,050, let's call it that, zone in there. We went sideways, waiting for the news. News came, breakout occurred, very powerful high volume breakout, leap in the ADX and the MACD, everything turned bullish here. So we got a little bit of a negative candle this morning, and that's occurring at a small resistance that we've got around here. So I suppose this is a level where it could easily stop. But I personally, it's not me because I'm not long of this. We've got the resistance here, which goes up to 1045 area. Then we've got stronger resistance up in here at 12, around centered on 1280. I would watch the behavior in there. I wouldn't take any notice of the little tiny black body that we've got so far today. I think look for the behavior, look for these indicators, principally the RSI, to start to turn down. In my case, I would take the trigger being down through 65 from above to indicate the market had run its course. But at the moment, I know it's just ticked down here on that there, but hey, the day isn't over yet. This is up here, reading with my period of 7, I've got a reading of 89 on it. It's up here not because it's weak, because it's strong. That's how I got up here. And strong things are not good things to sell. Yes, it's very hard to maintain this, and it probably will drift. But it's that doesn't mean it's the end of the move. It can slow up a bit here. So I would give it some room. 65 on the RSI. I use 7, 65, and 35 for those of you that know me, and wait for that. At the moment, it's a strong stock, and it doesn't look toppy, and resistance is light. It does intensify around 1280. So just watch the behavior. Let the price lead you in or out of it. You've got a couple of gaps, which are sorry, one gap also, which is helpful for technical analysis as well. The low of this candle and the high of that candle there. So watch the behavior at the gap if we were to come all the way back there. But well done for picking that one.
Well done indeed. And are you ready for the last one, Trevor?
Yes, please.
This one is simple. The question is just US oil. So I'm thinking that perhaps the gentleman, Wesley, thank you very much for your question. If that was a question, do you want to take a look at US oil? Because we looked at Brent, didn't we?
I think he's thinking of a USO, which is an ETF. Did you answer yes or no to that? Are you looking at USO?
Well, actually, I said to him, you want to take a look at US oil, question mark, but unfortunately he didn't get back to us. So he just said US oil.
We've looked at Brent, and are very bullish of it. He was around for that. So United States oil ETF. That's
West Texas, maybe.
West Texas. Yeah, let's do that. So here's West Texas intermediate. It's approaching this important high here, and it's approaching it very powerfully. MACD is positive. The RSI is very positive. The ADX is lifting from a low reading, actually. Higher lows pattern, we're channeling up here. So we're moving ahead nicely. We've cleared that high. We've got a little bit of resistance here and a little bit of resistance here. But the big thing, of course, for that is the long-term picture. And I think I bring in lots and lots of years back to show that. And so it's such an important level. But imagine we get above this high here. This consolidation here was centered on 100, the big round number of 100, and we traded in here for 4 years, and then we absolutely plummeted. So I think that this move from 80 to around 100, maybe 95 area could be very fast indeed. Very bullish oils. Remain bullish of oil.
Okay. Hope that answers your question.
I think that seems like a long time ago when we went negative in oil. You couldn't give it away.
I remember it well. FX Choice, we all remember it.
Pay like an old fridge. You had to pay to dispose of it.
Oh well. Well, thank you very much. I think we can sign off today. Thank you very much for attending, everyone. Please join us again, same time, same place next week. And don't forget that we're posting this webinar to our YouTube channel in a few hours or so time. So if you came later and you want to watch from the beginning, you can do so there. Or if you just want to watch a piece, you can go over there and do so. And if you do go over to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell to get notified. And also, we ask you, please don't forget to complete the survey that's about to pop up. It'll help us improve your webinar. So, Trevor, anything else to add?
No, not at all. Just a big thank you for those of you that asked questions. I really appreciate the questions. I hope I answered that one correctly about the channels. And I thank you, and I look forward to talking to you next week. And may the trend be with you.
And also with you, Trevor. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye all.